The first time my wife locked the refrigerator. I laughed, because I thought it was a joke. It was 6:42 on a Tuesday morning. The coffee maker was coughing out its last bitter drops. An open cereal box sat on its side, like somebody had given up halfway through breakfast. And our son, Mason, was standing barefoot in front of the fridge with his backpack hanging off one shoulder. A yellow sticky note was slapped across the milk carton. "Don't drink this." Mason looked at me, then at Claire. "Mom?" She was by the kitchen door, one slipper twisted sideways on the mat, her face calm in a way that made the room feel colder. "That isn't for him," she said. Not angry, not drunk, not joking. Outside, the school bus sighed to a stop at the curb, and I told myself she was just tired. Stress did strange things to people. It had to be stress. Before that morning, Claire had been the kind of mother who could hear a cough from 2 rooms away and know which kid it belonged to. She knew Mason got hives from cashews, not peanuts, and she corrected school nurses with a red pen like she was defending him in court. She remembered that the tag on his baseball jersey drove him crazy. So every spring she cut it out before his first practice. Spare inhaler in the glove box, spare in the junk drawer, spare in the canvas bag she carried to the bleachers. That was Claire. For Lily, she remembered songs. Our daughter was 9 then, all elbows and questions, and Claire could calm her by humming the theme from an old cartoon Lily loved when she was 4. I had forgotten the name years ago. Claire never did. She would sing it in a checkout line if Lily's eyes got glassy, one hand on the cart, the other smoothing our girl's hair like she had all the time in the world. She wasn't perfect. She snapped when the electric bill ran high. She left damp towels on our bed and blamed me first. Some nights, she sat in the driveway after work with the headlights on, just gathering herself before coming inside. But she loved us in practical ways. The refrigerator door used to be covered in proof a calendar held up by dentist office magnets, Mason's practice schedule in blue marker, Lily's spelling test circled twice, a coupon for oil changes, and a water bill folded under a lobster magnet from a vacation we could barely afford. There was nothing dramatic to explain a locked fridge. No secret screaming matches. No strange perfume. No late night calls that stopped when I walked in. Just normal pressure. The mortgage. My hours at the distribution center getting cut, then stretched. Claire taking extra shifts at the imaging clinic and coming home with faint half moons under her eyes. After Mason left for the bus, he forgot his hoodie over the back of a kitchen chair. I picked it up and held it a second. It smelled like grass, deodorant, and the gum he was supposed to chew in class. Claire stood at the sink rinsing a mug that was already clean. On the windowsill beside her sat her amber vitamin bottle, lined up next to a dead basil plant. "You okay?" I asked. She didn't look at me. Why wouldn't I be? "I don't know. The milk thing." Her hand paused under the water. "I labeled it," she said, "so there wouldn't be confusion." Confusion about milk? She turned off the faucet. The silence felt too big for our kitchen. Then Lily came in with mismatched socks, asking for her library book, and Claire bent down at once, touching her cheek. "Check under your pillow, bug." That offness was still there. I saw it. I held on to it. So I told myself I was making too much of one bad morning. I told myself sleep could fix it, or a weekend, or one honest talk after the kids were in bed. I wanted ordinary so badly that I ignored how carefully Claire avoided looking at Mason's hoodie on the chair. That evening, I found Claire in the living room with the back door open and the old rocking chair tipped halfway onto its side. The dryer was thumping in the basement, steady as a heartbeat, and the whole house smelled like lavender fabric softener. Lily's pajamas were folded on the couch. Mason's cleats sat by the stairs, dried mud flaking onto the rug. Claire had both hands on the rocker, dragging it toward the kitchen. "What are you doing?" I asked. She didn't jump. Somehow, that scared me more. "This needs to go out," she said. The chair scraped another inch across the floor. A pale gray line of dust appeared beneath one curved runner, the kind that only shows up when something has sat in the same place for years. I stepped in front of her. "Claire, stop." That's Lila's chair. Her eyes moved from me to the rocker, then back again. No, it isn't. We bought it before she was born. That antique place off Route 9. You said it looked haunted until I sanded the arms. I wouldn't have put that in my house. My house, not our house. I gave a short laugh. But nothing about it was funny. There are pictures of you in it, holding Lily. Mason sitting on the floor with that stuffed dinosaur he took everywhere. Claire's face stayed perfectly still. Pictures can be arranged, she said. For a few seconds, all I could hear was the dryer below us, buttons tapping against the metal drum. Tap, tap, tap. I went to the TV cabinet and yanked open the bottom drawer. Old remote slid forward. The photo albums were in the back, under warranty papers and a Christmas DVD nobody had touched in years. My hands felt thick as I flipped through the plastic sleeves. There, I said, turning the album toward her. Claire sat in that same rocker, younger and pale with exhaustion. Lily bundled against her chest in a pink blanket. Mason stood beside them in superhero pajamas, his small hand blurred because he never held still. The chair's left arm had the same nick from when I dropped a screwdriver on it. Claire leaned closer. For one hopeful second, her face softened. I thought recognition was rising through the fog. Then it disappeared. That's not right, she whispered. What isn't? She touched the plastic sleeve with one finger. Careful, like it might burn her. I don't know who took that. I did. No. Her voice was quiet now. Worse than anger. No, you didn't. I wanted to argue. I wanted to shake the room until the past fell back into place. Instead, I closed the album because Lily was upstairs and Mason was pretending not to listen behind his door. Claire let go of the chair and walked to the kitchen without another word. I stood beside the rocker, staring at the clean stripe in the dust where it had always been. Over the next few days, Claire began moving things, not randomly, carefully. Mason's chipped cereal bowl turned up on the laundry room shelf behind the bleach. Lila's pink toothbrush was sealed in a sandwich bag under the sink. The fleece blanket we all fought over on movie nights was folded across the sofa with masking tape stuck to it. Oh, yours. I found it there while our Friday night pizza went cold on the coffee table. Dad, Mason said, holding to paper plates. Claire came in with napkins pressed flat between her palms. Blue ink stained the side of her index finger. Mason dropped onto the sofa beside her like he had 1,000 times before. Claire stiffened. Don't. He froze. Don't what? Sit there. Lily stopped chewing. Mason looked at me, then back at his mother. I always sit here. No. Oi, you don't. The hurt hit his face first. Then came the anger. Fine, he muttered, sliding down to the floor. Mace, I said, but he wouldn't look at me. Claire smoothed a napkin over her knee. The TV was off, but she stared at it anyway. Lily clutched her pizza with both hands. Mommy, are you mad at us? Claire blinked, as if the question had traveled a long way. No. Then why are you being weird? I'm keeping things organized, Claire said. Mason gave a sharp little laugh. By making me sit on the floor? Mason, I warned, though my voice sounded thin even to me. He pushed his plate away. I'm not hungry. He went upstairs hard enough to rattle the hallway pictures. Claire didn't follow him. That was what scared me. The Claire I knew would have waited 5 minutes, then carried him a warmed-up slice and some soft apology disguised as a joke. This Claire sat under the blanket marked TOURS with dry eyes and folded hands. Later, after Lily fell asleep with her lamp on, I came down to toss the pizza box. The kitchen was dark, except for a thin line of light from the utensil drawer, left slightly open. Inside, between forks and steak knives, lay a small blue notebook. I knew I shouldn't touch it, but Mason's face was still in my mind. The first pages were lists. 642. Mason entered kitchen. 644. Drank orange juice. Blue glass. 73. Lily asked about field trip. 718. Daniel left. Gray jacket. Seeing my own name in her handwriting made my stomach tighten. I turned the page. 1012 Hallway noise. 10 for Tina. P. Boys door opened. 1016 Water running. Not ours? I read that last line 3 times. Behind me, the refrigerator hummed. Upstairs, Mace uncoughed once. What are you doing? I turned so fast the drawer hit my hip. Claire stood in the doorway in her robe, one slipper bent under her heel. She looked tired, but not surprised. I held up the notebook. What is this? She came forward and took it from me gently, like removing glass from a child's hand. It's private. You're rewriting down when the kids eat. When they walk around the house, someone has to keep track. Of what? Her eyes moved past me toward the stairs. When she answered, her voice was low and steady. Of who belongs where. Cold pressure opened behind my ribs. Claire, I said, forcing calm into every word. Mason and Lily are our children. She closed the drawer with 2 fingers. I know what you think, she said. No, I don't think you do. For 1 second, fear crossed her face. Then she tucked the notebook under her arm and went upstairs, leaving me beside the open trash can, suddenly aware that my own house had rules only she could see. That night, I waited until the house went quiet in layers. First Lilith's music clicked off, then Mason stopped pacing above the garage. Then Claire's breathing settled beside me, shallow and uneven, the way it had lately when sleep didn't seem to comfort her. I stared at the ceiling fan, listening to the chain tap the glass shade each time the heat came on. Good husbands didn't sneak around. Good husbands asked questions in daylight, but daylight had stopped working in our house. I slipped out of bed, took my sweatshirt from the chair, and paused by Claire's nightstand. Her phone lay face down beside her vitamins and a folded tissue. I looked at it until shame rose hot in my throat. Then I left it there. Downstairs, the kitchen glowed blue from the microwave clock. 17. Mason's laptop said open from homework. Peanut butter smeared near the trackpad. I wiped it with my sleeve before touching anything, as if being careful could make this decent. I logged into our credit card account. Groceries, gas, pharmacy, more pharmacy. A charge from the diner Claire liked, though she hadn't brought home a box. Then a bus ticket site I didn't recognize. 1 adult fare, one way. The destination was a small town 3 hours west, the kind of place we passed on road trips without stopping. Purchased 2 nights ago at 11:43 Scheduled for Friday. The ice maker crashed into the tray, and I nearly jumped out of my skin. For 1 ugly second, my mind went to another man. Hidden plan. I room somewhere with her name already written on the key. Then I saw her face from the sofa, the way she had pulled away from Mason, not with hatred, but fear. That frightened me more. I checked the shared phone bill next. My fingers felt thick and useless on the keys. The same number appeared again and again. Always in the afternoons, when I was at work and the kids were at school. 8 minutes. 12:31. Same area code as the bus ticket. I copied it onto the back of a pharmacy receipt with one of Lilith's glitter pencils. My hand shook so badly the numbers slanted like a child's. In the browser history, I searched the town name. Nothing useful. Then I searched Claire's name. A government page appeared. Vital records. Request status. Certified copy of birth certificate. Applicant Claire Elaine Porter. Her maiden name. The form had been started but not submitted. Other tabs were still open behind its sealed records. Adulthood opti laws. County, clerk office hours. I sat down slowly because my knees had gone loose. I knew Claire's childhood stories the way a husband knows the route home. The apartment over the hardware store. Her mother smoking on the fire escape. Her father gone before Thanksgiving. The counselor who drove her to college visits because no one else would. Now those stories felt suddenly fragile. Like old photographs she might tell me I had arranged. A floorboard creaked upstairs. I held my breath. Nothing followed. I took pictures of the pages with my phone. hating the small camera click even on silent. It felt like building evidence against the woman who used to fall asleep during movies with her hand tucked under my knee. On the counter, a pharmacy bag slumped beside the fruit bowl. Inside were antacids, sleep gummies, and a long receipt. Near the bottom, in faint print, was one more item: disposable phone charger. The kind you bought when you did not want to ask anyone for help. I put everything back exactly as it found it. Before going upstairs, I stood in the hall and listened through the dark. Mason's low cough, Lily turning in her sheets, Claire breathing above me in some private storm I could not enter. For the first time, I wondered if she was trying to leave us. Maybe she was trying to prove she had ever belonged anywhere at all. The next morning, Claire was already dressed when I came downstairs. Not for work, not for errands. Dark jeans, green sweater, anniversary earrings. Her hair was brushed smooth, but one coat button sat in the wrong hole, pulling the fabric crooked across her chest. On the counter, Mason's cereal had gone soft in the bowl. "Where are you going?" I asked. She kept wrapping her scarf. Once, twice, too tight, just out. Claire. Lily stood in the hallway with one sneaker untied, watching us with the awful stillness children learn when grown-ups start speaking carefully. Claire glanced at her. For half a second, my wife came back. "Baby, get your backpack." Lily didn't move. I stepped between Claire and the back door. "You bought a one-way ticket." Her face changed, but not into guilt, not panic. More like I had raised my voice in church. "You went through my things," she said. Yes. I had practiced gentler versions upstairs while shaving. They all vanished when I saw the purse on her shoulder. "Are you meeting someone?" Her eyes lifted to mine. Part of me wanted her to get angry. Anger made sense. We knew anger. Slammed drawers. Hard apologies. Coffee the next morning. But she only looked exhausted. "I have to see if it's still there," she whispered. "What is?" "The house." "What house?" "The first one." Before they changed the story. Behind me, Mason came down to stairs and stopped. "Hootie up," face pale with sleep and hurt. "Mom?" Claire turned toward his voice and flinched. "Not much. Just enough." Mason saw it. So did I. Something hot moved through my chest. "No," I said. "You don't get to look at him like that." "I'm trying to protect him." "From what?" She reached into her purse. I thought it was her phone. But she pulled out a folded paper worn soft at the creases. I took it before she could turn away. It was a photocopy of a birth certificate request. Her name at the top. A county I'd never heard her mention. Under reason. In her neat handwriting, she had written identity verification. Tucked inside was an old Polaroid. A little boy stood on a cracked sidewalk beside a dark-haired woman. 5, maybe 6. Skinny legs, serious eyes, a blue plastic cup in one hand. At first, my mind refused the picture. Then Mason shifted on the stairs, and I saw the same straight eyebrows, the same small notch in the chin. My throat closed. "Who is this?" I asked. Claire stared past me at Mason, tears filling her eyes at last. "I don't know," she said. "That's the problem." Mason came down another step. "Is that me?" "No," I said too fast. The light sat there between us, useless and bright. Outside, the school bus sighed to a stop at the corner. The driver honked once. Normal life. Impatient. Mason took the Polaroid from my hand. He studied it without blinking. "That kid has my cup," he said. And I remembered Claire's blue notebook. Drink? Orange juice. Blue glass. Not ours? Claire reached for him. "Mason, honey." He stepped back. That hurt her worse than yelling would have. "You are not leaving with this hanging over us," I said. "I have to know before I hurt anyone else." "You already are." She closed her eyes. The bus pulled away without my children. In the sudden quiet, Mason laid the photo face down on the table and looked at me. "Not his mother." "Dad," he asked, "am I yours?" For the first time in his life, I didn't answer fast enough. I wanted to say yes. The word was right there. Simple as breathing. "Yes, of course." Yuri, my son. You have my bad knees and my habit of leaving socks under the coffee table. You were 6 when you cried because I told you worms didn't have birthdays. But Mason wasn't asking if I loved him. He was asking if the floor under his life had been painted on. Claire made a sound like she'd been hit. Mason. No, no. Baby. He flinched at baby. Lily stood in the hallway in her unicorn pajamas. One sock sagging off her heel. Backpack hanging from one hand. Are we going to school? Nobody answered. I held the Polaroid by its edges. On the back there was nothing. No date. No name. Just that faint chemical smell of old film and a white square where a normal morning used to be. Mason, I said, my voice rough. You are my son. Nothing changes that. That's not what I asked. Claire covered her mouth. He looked almost grown. Shoulders squared. Jaw tight. But his hands betrayed him. They were shaking. He rubbed his thumb over his index finger the way he used to before dentist appointments. I turned to Claire. Tell us what this is. I can't. Then tell us what you think it is. Her eyes moved around the kitchen like she was searching for exits. The cereal box sat open on the counter. Coffee had gone cold in the pot. Lila's lunch bag leaned against a chair. A napkin sticking out with the little heart Claire had drawn the night before. Claire stared at that heart and began crying silently. I found it in my coat, she whispered. 3 weeks ago. Inside pocket. I don't remember putting it there. I don't know that room. I don't know that child. Mason swallowed. But he looks like me. I know. And you hid it. I was trying to understand before. Before what? His voice cracked. Before you decided I was somebody else? Claire gripped the chair, as if the floor had tilted. I didn't decide that. You wrote things down about me. My anger flashed hot because I hadn't told him about the notebook. I saw it, he said. Blue notebook. In the laundry room. It said I drank from a glass that was ours. Like I was visiting. Lily started crying quietly. Tears slipping down her cheeks while she stood there with her useless backpack. I knelt in front of her. Come here. She came stiffly into my arms. Is Mason not my brother? Mason turned away. But I saw his face fold. He is your brother, I said. Forever. Claire sank into the chair. I thought if I kept records, I could find what was missing. What's missing? I asked. She pressed both hands to her temples. Days. Details. I remember packing lunches. Then I find them untouched in the fridge. I remember you telling me something. Then everyone says it happened years ago. Sometimes the house feels familiar and wrong at the same time. The anger in me faltered. She looked at Mason then. Really looked. Sometimes I know your e-mind so deeply it hurts. Then a second later, something in my head says, prove it. Prove he belongs here. Prove any of you do. Mason backed into the stair rail. Claire stood too fast, knocking the chair sideways. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Don't come near him, I said. The words were harsher than I meant. But I didn't take them back. For 10 years, I had watched his scraped knees, cut grapes in half long after the kids were old enough, stand in freezing rain at Mason's games with a thermos under her coat. Now she looked like a stranger wearing my wife's sweater. Mason wiped his face with his sleeve. I don't want to be here. Claire made a low, broken noise and sat back down. I picked up my phone. Police felt too hard. Family felt too small. The doctor's office wasn't open yet. Claire looked at me through tears. Please don't let me get on that bus. I stared at her. I bought the ticket because the number was for the county clerk, she said. I thought if I saw something official, my head would stop splitting everything into. Her breath rattled. But I don't trust myself anymore. The refrigerator hummed in the silence. I dialed the emergency nurse line printed on the magnet by the calendar. When someone answered, I said, my wife is confused and scared, and she may not be safe leaving alone. We need help. Claire closed her eyes. Not relieved exactly, but surrendered. Mason slid down onto the bottom stair. Lily sat beside him and pressed her shoulder into his. He didn't move away. At the clinic, Claire kept her hands folded in her lap like she was trying not to touch the world. The waiting room smelled of sanitizer and burnt coffee. A cartoon flickered on the muted television. Mason sat 2 chairs away from his mother, knees jumping, the old Polaroid tucked in his hoodie pocket. Lily was with Mrs. Alvarez, who had hugged me at the door and asked nothing. A nurse took Claire's blood pressure twice. The second time, she looked at me. Has she been sleeping? Not much. Headaches? Claire whispered. Behind my eyes. In the exam room, Claire stood by the sink and stared at the soap dispenser, as if it might move. The doctor came in with gray hair, soft sneakers, and careful eyes. She asked Claire her name, the date, where we were. Claire knew her name. She missed the month. Then the doctor held up a pen. Can you tell me what this is? Claire studied it for so long Mason's knee stopped bouncing. A key, she said. The room went still except for the buzz of the fluorescent light. They sent us to the hospital. I drove with both hands clamped on the wheel while Claire sat beside me, eyes closed, whispering pieces of our life like she was trying to memorize a language. Blue house, 2 kids, Daniel, Mason, Lily, April anniversary. At a red light she opened her eyes. Did I scare him? I looked in the mirror. Mason was turned toward the window. Yes, I said, because the lies had already done enough. In the ER, they drew blood, ran scans, asked questions that made our marriage sound like evidence. New medicine? AFO? Alcohol? Drugs? Recent illness? I almost said no. Then I remembered the cold she killed and shaked 3 weeks earlier. I remembered finding her at the stove, the burner clicking unlit, while she frowned as if the sound were coming from another room. The neurologist arrived with tired eyes and his badge turned backward. He pulled the curtain closed. The scan doesn't show a mass or bleeding, he said. But her absent symptoms suggest inflammation affecting the brain. It can distort memory and recognition. People can become convinced familiar objects don't belong, or that loved ones are strangers. Mason looked up. So she thought I lost me? The doctor faced him fully. It's possible her brain wouldn't let her trust what she knew. That is not the same as not loving you. Mason's jaw tightened. I took the Polaroid from his pocket and handed it over. And this? The doctor looked at it. Then at Claire. Claire stared until her breathing changed. That isn't Mason. My whole body went cold. She touched the corner with one trembling finger. That's Evan. I blinked. Who's Evan? My brother. Her voice was thin and far away. He died before I was born. He was 6. My mother kept his pictures in a tin box. She only talked about him when she'd been drinking. Claire swallowed hard. After she died, I must have brought some things home. I don't remember putting this in the drawer. Mason leaned forward, pale and silent. Claire covered her mouth. The cup. The chin. I saw him and then I saw you. And something in my head twisted it together. She looked at our son, destroyed by her own voice. I thought my mind was warning me you weren't mine. I sat down because my legs had gone weak. The notes, the locks, the rules, the clerk. The picture I had turned every clue into betrayal. Claire hadn't been building a case against us. She had been trying to prove reality before it disappeared under her feet. She reached toward Mason, then stopped halfway. For a long moment he didn't move. Then he placed the Polaroid on the bed between them and whispered. My cup was red. Claire folded over her hands and cried, quietly, like someone lost in her own home. And for the first time in days, I believed there might be a door. The first week home, I kept expecting relief to arrive like weather. Sudden and visible. It didn't. It came in pill bottles lined beside the coffee maker and a paper schedule taped to the cabinet in my crooked handwriting. It came in Claire sleeping under the thin gray blanket the clinic had let us take home. Her face turned toward the window like she was listening for something far away. Some mornings she was almost herself. She would stir chicken soup at the stove and ask Mason if he wanted crackers, then freeze with a spoon in her hand. Did I pack their lunches yesterday? She asked. Or did I only dream that? I wanted to answer fast, to make the world simple again. Instead I looked at the counter. 2 brown bags. Lilis had a purple heart. Mason's was folded twice because he hated tape on the paper. You packed them, I said. Turkey for Lily. Ham for Mason. You wrote their names. Claire nodded. But tears slipped down anyway. I'm tired of needing proof. I know. That became the hardest sentence I learned. Not don't be scared. Not sure fine. Just I know. The doctor taught us grounding, and I felt foolish the first time I tried it in our kitchen. 5 things you can see. Claire shut her eyes. I can't. Open them. She did. The blue mug. She whispered. The towel. Your watch. The soup. The calendar. For things you can feel. Her fingers pressed the counter. Wood. My socks. My ring. Cold air. Mason stood in the hallway, pretending not to listen. Later, I drove him to a counselor across town. He sat with his hood up, staring at a text from his English teacher about missing assignments. At a red light, I said, I was scared too, and I got things wrong. He didn't answer. I thought she was choosing to hurt you. His jaw tightened. It felt like she was. I know. He looked out the window. Everybody keeps saying that. Because nobody can fix it fast. The light changed. I drove on. That night, Mason left his red cup on the counter instead of carrying it upstairs. Claire saw it, touched the rim with one finger, and stepped back. I remember buying that, she said. Mason didn't smile. But he didn't take it away either. I stood between them, saying nothing. Learning repair was sometimes just a cup left where everyone could see it. By spring, we could sit in the diner on Maple without everyone watching Claire's hands. The booths were still red vinyl, cracked at the corners. Spoons clicked against coffee mugs. Sunlight came through the blinds and thin gold stripes across our table. Lily got syrup on her wrist and laughed when it stuck to her sleeve. Mason rolled his eyes, but he handed her a napkin. Claire reached for the little metal pitcher and poured milk into Mason's glass. For 1 second, her hand stopped. I saw it. Mason saw it too. The old fear crossed the table without a sound. Claire looked at the glass, then at our son. Her eyes filled, but she smiled. Tell me if I'm rationing dairy again, she said. Mason stared at her. Then he gave one short laugh. Rusty from lack of use. You were terrible at it, he said. Claire nodded. I was terrible at a lot of things. He looked down, turning the glass between both hands. You were sick. I know, she said. But you were hurt. Nothing was fixed by that. Not with one sentence. Not with pancakes going cold. But Mason drank the milk. That afternoon, I put the blue notebook in a shoebox with hospital bracelets, old photos, and Lila's spelling medal. I didn't hide it. I didn't keep it as evidence. I kept it because there had been a season when love had to introduce itself every morning and still chose to stay.